Impeachment. This is one of the latest words you would have heard or at least bumped into in the family WhatsApp groups, in the pubs, where people and Zimbabweans are talking regarding the upcoming impeachment of President Emerson Mnangagwa as proposed by Blesed Geza, the war veteran leader who has been the spokesperson and the lead in the fight to get President Emerson Mnangagwa to leave office. So this comes after the 31 March demonstrations in which Blesed Geza had called for, and there was massive stairways across the country. But he came back and said, we are going to be changing the strategy. The strategy of this fight is moving from the strategy of fighting in the streets. We are taking it into Parliament. We are taking it into Parliament to try and get President Emerson Mnangagwa removed from his office because we believe that he is no longer mentally capacitated to be able to execute his duties and responsibilities as a president. We are going to be following an impeachment process. So that is how the buzz has come about regarding impeachment. We did some videos, and the last video we did, we explained the change in strategy and the process that has unfolded so far. But we thought it is important for us to just jump in to explain in the simplest form what this impeachment entails, so that we can have conversations at least based on facts and understanding of the real process and what it means and what it entails to remove a president through this process. So an impeachment process is actually something that was thought and incorporated into the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which is the supreme law of the country. It allows for a situation which arises where people say, yes, we have voted for a president and a government into place, but we can't wait for the next election to remove the person who's sitting in this office. We actually want this person gone sooner. However, this process is instigated and done and run through the parliamentary process. We've got two houses of parliament in Zimbabwe, the House of Assembly and the Senate. So both houses have to agree on this. But how does the process start? The process comes through a motion that has to be moved in parliament. And for this motion to gain any, attention, it actually needs to be supported by 50%, at least 50% of these both houses. But what are the grounds that are permitted in the Constitution? The Constitution allows for grounds of this impeachment. The grounds that are established in the Constitution for an impeachment process are either there's a serious misconduct by the person of the president, or there is a failure to obey or observe and defend the Constitution of the country. Another reason can be that there is a willful violation of the Constitution by the president. And lastly, the other option is that actually the president is incapacitated, can no longer continue executing the job of being the president, either based on a physical or mental condition that the president has. So in these grounds, Blesed Geza has said that we are going to be using the grounds that the president actually is not mentally fit to be still executing the job of the president. We believe that he needs to go. So based on these grounds, a motion is moved in Parliament. And this motion is to say we need to carry out an investigation for the removal of the president on the grounds stated. At least 50% of the members of Parliament in both houses need to support this motion for an investigation to now commence. If at least 50% of the people in Parliament support, then you have a committee established. Now, this committee does an investigation, and the president is allowed and has got the right to go and defend himself and presents his case to this committee. This committee, after it runs its investigations, then makes a recommendation. And this recommendation has to say that, yes, there is grounds for the dismissal of the president and he should be removed from his office. Based on that outcome, that resolution or that recommendation that is coming from the committee is now tabled in the joint house. And 2/3 of the MPs have to support that motion and that resolution for it to be adopted. So 2/3, 2 of every 3 members of parliament who have to agree that the president has to go on the basis that he is no longer having a capacity to continue with his position as the president of the country. If less than 2/3 of the parliament, less than 66%, agree on this motion, then that's the end of it. But if at least 2/3 agree, that essentially calls for the termination of the position of the president. And then a new president would then have to be installed. So it's going to be interesting to see that President Emerson Mnangagwa has enough people within parliament to actually at least build up a team of 1/3 of the members of parliament to push back on this motion. At the same time, it can be quite suicidal. The first 50% that is required for the motion to actually pass is a bit of a suicidal move for those that will be going on that direction. The people that will need to say, we are supporting this motion, need to have calculated the numbers well to know that we are not only 50%, we will actually be more than 66% of the people in parliament. Is it impossible? It's not impossible. Even at the tail end of Robert Mugabe, an impeachment process was started. But usually what happens is when an impeachment process starts and the balance of numbers shows that the incumbent is going to lose, they resign, which is what Robert Mugabe did. So now the Constitution does not give specificities in terms of the time frame for these 3 major steps to happen. It could happen in a very short space of time. It could be dragged. But the critical point is the numbers. Do you have 66%, which is 2/3 of members of parliament, who are willing to say the president needs to go? That's the question that is in the minds of many. And when discussing and splitting the numbers and crossing hairs and that's the math that is critical. Regardless of everything else, if this process is to follow and is to get Blesed Geza and Zimbabweans who are supporting him to the promised land, that's the question. Do we have the numbers? To be interesting to see how things pan out. Would like to also hear, what you think and your understanding of the process. Do you think the president has the numbers to push back? And do you think Blesed Geza has the numbers and the support to continue going on this trajectory? Let me know what you think in the comment section.